If you want your VSL to perform better, you have to learn how to make a VSL that is compelling and is like catnip for your ideal client. Now, I've tested literally hundreds of VSLs and I've studied thousands more from some of the top players in the game, namely Alex Hormozi, Jeremy Haynes, and Daniel Fazio. And it turns out, when it comes to VSLs, there's actually a clearly defined list of things that you must get right every single time in order for your VSL to convert like crazy. So a VSL only consists of 9 key things, and most companies at most that I talk to get only a couple of these right. But the good news is, these are all really easy to adhere by if you know what they are. By the way, I know that this works because all I do every single day is talk about VSL funnels and scaling ads for our clients. And in 2025, we generated $10.9 million for our clients alone, namely because of our VSLs. So let's peel back the curtain and get your VSL working and converting like crazy, shall we? Okay, so quickly, before I get into this, what I'm going to be talking about today relates to all VSLs, but primarily what we're going to be covering is how to rate a VSL that targets an affluent demographic, since most of our clients go after people who tend to be on the wealthier side. Alrighty, so up first, we need to hook them immediately. Now, the single biggest mistake that you can make when creating a VSL is not getting the hook right. And to be clear, this is not the kind of hook that you've probably heard about when it comes to ads. The hook in a VSL is tied directly to exactly what you can do for them. So you must be extremely direct in telling them what you can do for them, so that way the viewer instantly thinks, yep, this is for me. And the reason that we have to do that is because humans are exceptionally good at making decisions to conserve energy and decide rapidly if something is worth spending that energy on, or if it's better to just pass on to save the energy for something that might be more important.
Like scrolling through cat videos.
So to provide value and show them that this is important and worth their time, we need to tell them right out of the gate, can you solve their problem? Okay, so if we don't convey that we can solve their problem in the first few seconds of the VSL, we're going to get a steep drop off from a viewership. And so generally what you're going to see, okay, so if you have a VSL that is hooking people properly, what we're going to see is an engagement graph, and typically we use Wistia or Vitalytics, doesn't really matter what you use, as long as you can see the engagement and where people are dropping off throughout your video. Typically with the VSL, a healthy engagement curve is gonna look like this. And this is time right here, by the way. Time, and this is percentage of viewers, like that, okay? So what you'll notice is as people go through, we're gonna have a gradual decrease in people dropping off. However, okay, so this is good right here, this is good. Now, if your VSL doesn't convey value quickly, what you're going to see is your engagement graph is going to look something like this. We're going to have steep drop off in viewership almost instantly. Okay, so what does a good example of a VSL hook look like? So that way we can have a graph that looks like this, not like this. So here's an example. If you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company and feel the weight of that responsibility on your shoulders, I can instantly help you reduce your stress to near zero. So if you're looking to live a more stress-free life, I'm your guy. So as you can see in that example, we're instantly telling them what we can do, what value we provide, and we're calling out the avatar instantly. So we're hooking them, okay? Up next, we need to establish credibility. So once we have their attention, once we are holding viewership in a very good way, the next thing that we have to do is prove to them why they should listen to us. So if you notice, even in this video here, I didn't just immediately jump in and start talking about how I can change your VSL for the better. I immediately preceded anything that I'm about to say to you with all I do every single day is talk about VSLs and scale ads for our clients. And in 2025, we generated $10.9 million with what we're going to talk about today. If I didn't do that, there's always going to be a gap in your mind about, can I trust this guy? Who is this guy? Right, you might still be wondering who I am. My name's Hunter, by the way. But you're like, can I trust this guy? Why should I listen to some random dude? But when I frame it as, hey, this is why you should listen to me, and here's the proof I have, all of a sudden, that question is gone and you're like, let me listen to what he's gonna say. When I prove to you, or in a VSL that you create for yourself, that you can do what you say you can, all of a sudden, whatever you say is way more believable to the prospect. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. If you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company and feel the weight of that responsibility on your shoulders, I can instantly help you reduce your stress to near zero. So if you're looking to live a more stress-free life, I'm your guy. And by the way, I've worked with over 40 CEOs running companies ranging from $50 million a year all the way up to $6 billion a year. And I've studied the psychology of stress for over the last 12 years and have been able to reduce my own stress and many of our clients' stress down to near zero. And that's regardless of the current situation that you're going through in life. So what I want to articulate here is if we get the why right, your credibility instantly shifts. All of a sudden, they kind of see you as an authority, and anything you say is going to be more believable in your VSL. Up next, we have to sell the opportunity. Okay, so at this point in the VSL, we've told them what we can do for them, and we've established credibility as to why they should listen to us. Now we need to sell them the bigger picture. And this is where we start to get into the massive opportunity that they stand to gain if they work with you. And this is where you need to be extremely good about either knowing for a fact or predicting what the buying triggers are for your audience. Now, the easiest way for me to articulate this is that when we are selling anything, whether it's a product or a service, there's usually going to be majority driving factors behind what gets someone to buy. Now, generally what we'll see is that there's about a 50% of the audience is going to buy for a various reason. So let's take professional real estate photography as an example. So 50% of the market might buy photography because they want to acquire more clients. Okay, the other 50%, they might buy because, and then we're talking about realtors here, right? We're targeting realtors in this example. These people, they might buy it to be able to sell homes faster. Now, you'll notice up in here, this is going to break down into infinite amount of reasons that someone might buy this service. So this person might hear, this might be a keepsake. They just want to photograph the house so that way the seller can remember their home, their old home. They might also be wanting to document the condition of the property because maybe they're trying to sell it and then maybe flip it, or maybe it might be an insurance claim or what have you. We may also have a little bit of a category here where somebody is trying to take photos that they can use for Airbnb, right? There's a lot of variations as to what someone might be buying this for. Let me give you one more example. Okay, so up here, this is a real estate photographer. Okay, let's use one more example here. So say that you are an HVAC company, right? We're going to have the same distribution, right? So we're going to have our 50% here. We'll have, maybe 25% over here that's going to be buying for another reason. And then we're obviously going to have our subcategories of people that are going to be buying for other less common reasons, right? So in this example, let's say, this is HVAC services. In this example, right, probably 50% of the people, they're going to do it to stay comfortable. Okay, the other 25% will do it to save money, right? So eco-efficient, efficiency, whatever, right? So they want to have more efficient heating and cooling systems to save on electrical bills or heating bills. Okay, the other people, this might be air quality. This person might be a smart home enthusiast. So this person wants to upgrade to a smarter heating and cooling system. Or if they're more of like a commercial type person, it might be compliance with the law or something like that, right? So there's a number of reasons. So this is when we need to articulate to the person why they should do business with you and show them the opportunity that they stand to gain or lose if they don't work with you. So generally this was going to be the vast majority of your VSL. We're just going to tell them basically point blank, here's why you should buy. So in this example, if we're selling real estate services, we're going to get you more clients. We're going to help you sell your homes faster, right? And then we might talk about a few of these niche examples, but generally we don't need to talk about those because this is going to cover most of the market. Now, next up is number 4. We're just going to present the offer. Okay, so at this point, we've told them what we can do for them. We've told them why they should believe us. We've shown them the opportunity. Now we just need to tell them exactly what we offer to them and sell, right? Basically, we're just going to tell them exactly what they're buying into. So the biggest mistake that I see people doing in their VSLs is overcomplicating this to the point that you have no idea what you actually are selling. And one of the things that I see people doing here, I'm just going to put this as a little pro tip. One thing that people don't do usually is they don't tell you the price. So tell the price. So to clarify, when I first started doing VSLs, I never included the price, ever. It felt like the worst mistake I could possibly make. And then I started working with my mentor. His name is Jeremy Haynes. And he convinced me that putting price in VSLs is probably one of the best things that you can do for conversions. And the reason that we tell pricing in our VSL is we want them to know how much it costs, so that way we basically, we get rid of all the people that can't afford it, and we attract the people who value transparency and have the capital that they need to actually purchase whatever it is that you're trying to sell. So unless you are fine with filling your calendars with highly unqualified prospects that could never possibly afford what you sell, tell the price, right? It's very important. And to clarify, I've done a lot of testing on this, and I can say firsthand, it is so freaking nice to have people disqualify themselves before they book the call, or sometimes they book the call and then they hear about the price, because we have it after the VSL as well, and they go, I can't afford that. Perfect, thanks for not wasting my time. On to the next one. Because, and here's something important, if you're running ads on Meta or Google or TikTok, wherever you're running, if you get people booking on your calendar that are completely broke, cannot afford your services, what do you think that's going to tell Facebook? It's going to pass all that data back to them, and then it's going to go after more of those people. So if we can just pre-handle that issue up front and just have them never hit the pixel, your ads are going to produce better results long term as well as the short term, because those people that can't afford it aren't even going to book calls. So yes, you're going to get a higher cost per call if you show the price, but you still need to show it, right? It's very important. Okay, and now obviously aside from price, we're going to just lay out exactly what they get for that price, right? You get X, Y, and Z, lay it out very clear as day. If you pay this price, you get all of X. Right? Pretty self-explanatory. All right, so now up next is handle objections. Alrighty, so we've told them what we can do, we've built credibility, we've sold them the opportunity, we've told them the price and the offer. Now we need to pre-handle the objections that they are likely to have. And I like to think of this just like it's a sales call, except instead of talking to someone and they talk back and give you the objection, you're just talking and you're assuming that you're going to handle the most common objections that they're likely to have at this point in the video. And now I typically only recommend that you handle 3 objections. Okay, so we're not going to try and handle all of them. That would be exhausting, right? There's lots of objections that people can give you, I'm sure. These are just going to be the 3 most common that you are getting on most of your sales calls. And you can do this in a very point blank way, where you say something like, people always wonder why we charge $3,000 a month. Here's why, right? And then you list out why you charge that much. You could also say something like, I'm always asked, how fast will you actually see results with our service? Here's exactly how long it takes most of our clients, right? And then you tell them exactly how long it takes your clients on average, right? So super easy, right? That's a very easy way to do it. You can also do it in a more subtle way, kind of like this. So how did we come to our $3,000 a month package? Well, here's the breakdown for you, put simply. Or you could say something like, I want to break down why it generally takes about 3 months for our clients to see the best results. So to be clear here, yes, you're going to have to make some assumptions on what objections are the most common. Obviously, if you don't have any sales data yet, or very little, or you haven't been tracking properly, this is going to be kind of tricky and you're going to have to make some guesses. Ideally, you have some sales calls that you've already taken and you already have data on, hey, these are the objections that we get 50% of the time, 25, right? And you just put those ones in there, and then your job's very, very easy. But handling objections is very important because it shows them that you first of all, you know who they are, you know what questions and objections they're likely to have. And so it builds credibility and helps them show up to the call because you've already pre-handled some of the things that they may have been concerned about. So that way they don't have to feel like they're showing up to a call just to get a few questions answered. They're showing up to the call to see if it logistically makes sense. Okay, so up next, we need to qualify the audience. So at this stage, we need to be clear about who this offer is for and who it is not for, more importantly. So don't beat around the bush here, make it very clear. Clearly state the traits, the mindset, and the type of businesses or person that you generally help. And then in a fairly point-blank way, tell them, hey, this is not for you and you shouldn't apply if you fall into a few of these categories. The goal here is to not create any confusion. You just want to be very clear. If you help businesses doing only $1 million a month or more, you need to clearly state that and say, if you aren't at least making $1 million a month yet, don't apply. We're just going to automatically reject you. And another example, if you're in the real estate photography example, if you only work with real estate agents who do 10 listings every single year at minimum, say that directly in the VSL and then say, hey, if you don't do at least 10 listings, don't even bother replying because we're just going to reject you. All right, next up is a clear call to action. Okay, so this one's also very easy. Make it extremely obvious what they need to do next to progress themselves through the sales. If it's apply for a webinar, tell them to click the button below to apply for the webinar. If it's to book a sales call, tell them to fill out an application or book the call right there. I like to say something like, click the big red button below to apply to work with our team. Boom, right? Fill out the form, or whatever. Click the big red button. It couldn't be more clear. Don't overcomplicate this part. It's very easy. Just make it very obvious what they need to do. Okay, number 8 is show proof. So social proof is one of the best things that you can put into your VSL, but it's also one of the things that's very easy to get wrong. I always see people making these fancy looking graphics of highly nitpicked and cherry picked case studies that they've done for their clients. Do not do this, right? Take screenshots of emails, text messages, or video calls that you've taken with clients. So that way it doesn't look polished, it looks authentic, like you just happened to get a comment from a client that was positive, and boom, now you have that as a testimonial that you can include in your VSL. So long story short, to put simply, the more unpolished the testimonial looks and the proof, the better. Okay, number 9 is to summarize the value. All right, so at this point, all that's left to do is to reinforce everything that we just stated about our company by eradicating any remaining doubt in the prospect's mind. So this is where you're going to talk about a refund policy, if you have one, or a satisfaction guarantee, or some way that you guys reduce the risk of working with your company. So that's really all you're going to talk about in this section, and then you're just going to quickly summarize, hey, here's what we do for you, here's why we can do that for you, here's the opportunity that you're presented with, quickly state the offer, right? Again, you don't need to tell the price in this example, you're just going to say, hey, by the way, here's a reminder, here's what you get. Right? You don't have to handle the objections again. You don't have to qualify the audience again, but you want to basically go through points 1 through 4 in this section, and then you're just going to tell them, hey, by the way, you get all of that, and we reduce the risk by giving you a refund if this doesn't work, or we have a satisfaction guarantee, so that way if you absolutely hate us at the end of working with us, you don't have to pay anything. Right? That's basically all you're going to do in this section. Alrighty, so that's everything for this video. That is how to make a VSL that converts like crazy and brings in tons of revenue for your company and allows you guys to book your calendars out with qualified prospects that are actually probable to close. Now, to be clear, I obviously withheld a lot of what we can actually do with a VSL in this video. I wouldn't give that out for free on YouTube, obviously. But if you want the full engine for your company that our agency builds for you, you can click the link in the description to see if you qualify to work with us. Now, to be clear, we only work with businesses doing at least $1 million a year. So if you're not there yet, don't even bother applying. Probably not going to accept you. All right, just being honest. But our agency does everything from ads, ideation, video editing, optimization, conversion rate optimization, consulting, strategy, you name it. We have a full team and we do everything for you. 90% of all of the heavy lifting. Okay, so click the link in the description if you want to work with us. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great one.